Anyway, I'll give you a real quick rundown. My name's Glenn. We're going to talk for a few moments, just a few moments. I'm going to give you plenty of time to look at the aircraft here in the World War I or the Great War. It's a different time when we think about this time. Today we think about jets, there's the essence they flew earlier in the World War II era, but we kind of forget this era for a lot of reasons. If you think about it, World War I, back in the early 1900s, we didn't understand aviation technology. If you think of it, the Wright brothers flew in 1903, and that was kind of our AI moment of the time, or maybe our AI moment of a couple of years ago was the Wright brothers moment. Brand new technology was unveiled. About World War I, we started in 1940. We had to understand what do we want to do with this technology? How do we apply it? What was the technology? How do you use these aircraft? And at first, when we had balloons for a while, we knew that we could look down and see things. Now you can move out at maybe 100 miles an hour and look down over the enemy lines. And they have not quite figured out anti-aircraft fire at the time. So when airplanes were able to do that, they're kind of providing impunity at first. Then we realized, hey, they're looking at us. Maybe we could put guns on these aircraft and shoot those observers down. And if we can do that, then we would protect ourselves. So we have to figure out how to arm the aircraft. Early on, they had pusher propellers, pusher engines. If the gunner in the front basket was trying to shoot the aircraft, they tried rifles, they tried pistols, they tried machetes. Metal darts, they would bomb on the other aircraft. Not all the time. Eventually, they started to innovate and realized that if I can put a machine gun that can fire a little propeller arm, I can aim my aircraft. What could possibly go wrong? In early attempts, things went bad. Propellers got short, that doesn't work. Deflector plates work, but it didn't really work well. And eventually they figured out how to synchronize the machine gun, or interrupt initially the machine gun, so they could aim the airplane. You can see that innovation, that change. First then we're doing the observations, then we want fighters, then fighters against fighters, bombers. All these ideas came out in a very, very short period of time. The most famous World War I name from the American perspective was
Rickenbacker.
Eddie Rickenbacker. 26 victories. Think about Eddie Rickenbacker's background. He was a race car, a famous race car driver. When he joined the Army in World War I, 1917, he was well renowned as a race car driver and became Billy Mitchell's driver. Billy Mitchell, the father of the Air Force, he was driving Billy Mitchell around. Who wouldn't want a NASCAR driver driving around France in World War I? Rickenbacker could take it maybe not well educated, but he knew what he was doing. He convinced Mitchell to send him to flight school in France in World War I. So 26 was a low number with a lot of the European nations, but because he started flying in 1918, about midway through the year, those were pretty high. In his biography, he would talk about things he had learned. Early aircraft, he would fly rotary engines. Who's heard of rotary engines before? How does this thing work?
It spins on the crankshaft.
Think about it. The engine spins at 1,200 RPM with the propeller. So the pilot's got this in front of him spinning at full speed. There is no problem. The airplane is either on or off. So to control speed, the pilot has what they call a blip switch on the control wheel, and he can start and stop the engine to control the speed. Anybody want to try that?
No.
Stop before the is scary. And if the enemy knew which way your engine spun, you knew which way you couldn't turn because you couldn't fight against that engine spin. And another thing that was a challenge is these are the engine exhausts on a rotary engine. So those exhausts are throwing out the exhaust fumes. And because we really didn't have, think of it, 1917, we didn't have the petroleum industry like we picked up again. We were really just starting to feel internal combustion engines in great numbers. So they didn't know what type of petroleum to use on these engines, so they didn't use petroleum. They used castor oil. So this thing is throwing exhaust fumes and castor oil back in the face of the pilots. Anybody knows what castor oil will do with they poor pilots who are having to deal with a lot of stuff. Why do they wear scarves? They want to keep castor oil out to because their stomachs are going to be upset and stuff. Now you've got an airplane with an engine spinning at 1,200 RPM. You've got potential for fire and conflict. You've got castor oil going into your face. What could possibly go wrong with these young kids? And that's what they were up against in early aircraft. Then they ended up with more if you would, safer engines, if you would. This has got a V8 behind you, not throwing your castor oil in your face, but still not as comfortable or safe as you would think. So these are the things that pilots are up against in World War I. The U.S., we did not field an airplane for combat in World War I. We borrowed airplanes. Rickenbacker would fly U-boats like you see on the other side.
28.
You'll see the signs over there. And later,
About 13.
French-built aircraft with more of a traditional engine. So we had to borrow aircraft because, well, the Wright brothers and Curtis were in constant competition and constantly suing each other. So our aircraft industry was lagging behind Europe when the war started. We had to catch up. So I want to give you a little time to walk around and see.
I want to take pictures of me next to almost all of them.